with an incredible opportunity to express, to speak, to be able to share. We arrive once again to our fourth annual affair. Welcome to GatherVerse Summit 2025. We've come a long way, but we've barely even begun. This is our 29th Global Summit, and we're happy to see all of you that have come to join us at GatherVerse.live and also in our other different streams and restreams and live broadcasts. We greet each of you. We welcome you all. GatherVerse meets at the intersection in business of humanity first standards and emerging technologies, but so much more, with the emphasis and a focus on accessibility, education, equality, community development, safety, privacy, wellness, ethics, care, compassion. There's never been a more important time to be able to hold the discussions that you're about to bear witness to in these next 3 days. They will come along quick, and it will move fast. There's much to unpack, and we've assembled an incredible roster of speakers from around the world who do have something to say. These are experienced professionals in their own right, transmetropolitan, transcontinental. They come from Europe, Africa, Asia, East Asia, Oceania, the Middle East, North America, Central and South, and elsewhere. You know, I used to think that we had to be likened unto someone like the World Economic Forum or the aspirations of the UN or UNESCO. Incredible organizations that are doing impactful work. But I realized that we're not them. And we don't have to be them. We're GatherVerse. This is an organic, fresh community that's assembled by so many different hearts around the world that have come to really share what it is that they've been looking at and focused for so long. It's heartfelt, motivating, and moving to see how many people really have something to say when it comes to care and humanity and compassion. This is a defining time of our era where we're seeing emerging technologies hyperscale and accelerate like we've never seen before. I once posed the question, what happens when a technology becomes more advanced than a technologist? Now, in many respects, this has now come to pass. It's far time that we catch up to game speed and head and accelerate when it comes to innovative acceleration itself. With the dramatic rise and the great symphony that's happening before our eyes, seen and unseen. Might this be the best time for us to assemble, to express on what's next in the frontier, not just with artificial intelligence, but I dare say in civilization itself, at the business scale, the material layer, and the virtual layer. We have a powerhouse set of firesides and roundtables to be able to move us forward on day one here at GatherVerse Summit 2025. There's much wood to chop. There's much more to express in the days to follow. We ask that you share this event. This is organic. This is free. We ask you to share this with your colleagues, your families, your loved ones, your friends, a stranger, your networks. Why do we do this? Because we feel that this is one of the most important times to share anything, if anything at all. But for those that have never been to GatherVerse, don't share it just because I say it. If we inspire you to do such, if we encourage and motivate you to do such, then we ask that you do that with a willing heart. And we at GatherVerse are so thankful for the opportunity to be able to serve in excellence with the servant's heart. We come to you and we say thank you for allowing us to be able to assemble with all of you in global community. We have a lot to unpack. We have a lot to share. Mayor Gather, be well. And to those that, and I must say, may not be able to be here, as you find yourself in crisis and challenged times, you are in our hearts. Thank you.
Hello and welcome to GatherVerse Summit 2025. My name is Russell Bundy and I am the moderator for this fantastic panel today. And on this roundtable discussion, we're going to have the human side of innovation, focusing on purpose and impact. What we're going to do is we're going to have a quick 30-second introduction from each of yourselves. And then once we've done that, then we will get on with the questions. And if everybody could also mute their microphone so we don't have any sort of disturbance from anyone whilst people answering the questions or talking, then that would be great. All right, we'll start with Elisabetta. Hey, good to see you again.
Hello, Russell. Hello, everyone. It's good to see you too. Nice to meet you all. I'm Elisabetta Rotolo. I'm the CEO and founder of MIAT, which stands for Multiverse Institute for Arts and Technology, which is actually the educational and creative hub for immersive arts and emerging technologies, integrating an excellent academy, also using GenAI since the last 3 years with hands-on and practitioner-driven industry access training programs, alongside the full-service immersive production center generating original bespoke immersive experiences with all immersive and emerging technologies. And thank you for having me here today.
Thank you for joining us, Elisabetta. And next up is Trina. Welcome. Hello.
Welcome. Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where people are. Thanks for having me, Russell. My name is Trina L. Hill. I'm the CEO and founder of TLH and Consulting Enterprises, where we focus on artificial intelligence, from governance to resiliency, as well as technology transformation. And I also always have a heart for the people. There's nothing that happens in technology without them. So thanks for having me. I look forward to this panel.
Thank you for joining us, Trina. Stefania, great to see you again. Welcome. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, Russell. How are you? And hello, everyone online in the panel and watching us. My name is Stefania Brunori, and I enhance the visibility of both leaders and organizations who want to have a social impact through personal branding, storytelling, and marketing strategy, really focused on giving voice in the space to those who want to impact society. So I'm really looking forward to our discussion.
Thank you for joining us, Stefania. And Eric Fraser, good to see you again. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. Hi, thanks for having me here. I'm Eric. I'm the Chief Technology Officer of an AI consulting company, Dr. Lisa AI. It was founded by Dr. Lisa Palmer. And I study the mathematics and technology of AI.
Thank you for joining us, Eric. Jordan, hello, good to see you again.
Hey there, Russell. Good to see you too. So my name's Jordan Woods, and I'm with StarChain Ventures. We're a Silicon Valley venture studio, and we're focused on deep tech, so AI, Web3, blockchain, AR, VR, IoT, and looking with our advisory and investments at making a better technological ecosystem and better society and better world. So glad to be here and looking forward to our discussion.
Thank you for joining us, Jordan. Jody, welcome. It's the first time I've met you, so welcome. Please introduce yourself.
Yes, thanks for having me. I'm Jody Bondi Norgard. I'm an entrepreneur, activist, and author of my new book called More Than a Doll: How Creating a Sports Doll Turned into a Fight to End Gender Stereotypes. I come to this panel from a point of social change. I worked with the Biden administration and their Gender Policy Council, which was an amazing experience, but definitely in the social change space, and I've been working hard at that for about 20 years.
Thank you for joining us, Jody, and welcome to GatherVerse. And Joy, last but not least, please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Joy Wiggins. I'm the CEO of Equity and Inclusion Consulting. And I'm a former professor and DEI research and content lead in corporate America. And I'm also a DEI consultant, which now is what I do full time, living here in Portugal. And I do a lot of cross-cultural communication workshops. I work with executives on creating strategic planning, kind of pivoting from the DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion stuff that's happening, and really looking at it and expanding it into more holistic cross-cultural approaches so that we can understand that diversity is actually integral to everything that we do. So that is a part of what I'm doing here.
Thank you for joining us, Joy. And by the way, I love Lisbon. I went there for the Web Summit, so fantastic place.
Oh yeah, the Web Summit is a great place to go and meet lots of different people. So good.
Okay, and also let me just quickly introduce myself, and then we'll get on with the questions. So my name is Russell Bundy. I am the founder of Just Verify and also director of partnerships at GatherVerse. And I do a multitude of things. It's very complicated. Apparently, some people have asked me, do I even sleep? Mostly don't, to be honest. Maybe I'm a vampire, who knows? Yeah, that's pretty much my title and kind of everything that I do in terms of the AI side of Just Verify and also director of partnerships at GatherVerse. So quick introduction for myself, and now we'll get straight into the questions. So the first question is, how can organizations make human values a priority in technology development? Now, Elisabetta, I'm going to hand this one over to you to kickstart things off, and then we'll go over to Eric after.
Thank you, Russell. Always very nice. Thank you for this question. Right. I really believe that they really focus on human-centric design as a strategic priority for the company's evolution is pivotal in this moment. You need to really apply human-centric principle. This is what we call also in our company MIAT, which means that when also we teach or we produce for companies, entrepreneurs and brands will really need to develop the skills needed to understand what's going on out there with all these immersive and emerging technologies in the market, but also how they have to build with security by design, equity by design, and privacy by design in their technological projects, and prioritize the user needs, which usually they don't do, I have to say. And experience these all throughout the life cycle of the products or the services they do, and also including fairness and into continuous generative learning ensures that products and services are both technically viable and meaningful to users. Other two things that I would like to say is education and engagement are really like a core, like educating young people and people working in the companies, in particular this moment is very important because if we talk about GenAI, which is one of the technologies that we really teach and also we produce, people are really scared in the companies because they think that GenAI is going to replace them instead of like enhancing, their like capabilities and like creative minds and their knowledge. And the last thing that we do with companies, because it's very important for them, is implement ethical guidelines and governance, particularly for GenAI. They don't do it in this moment, and doing that, creating governance for GenAI adoptions and emerging and emerging tech is really, really massively important in the companies because really there is a little bit of chaos, not only out there in the market, but also inside the company.
Yeah, no, I agree with everything that you said, Elisabetta. And I mean, honestly, you covered so many key areas there that, is extremely important. And, ethical wise, I think that's important too. Trust, transparency, accountability. There's so many areas which, human value wise, is important into, technology development, which brings me on to sort of Eric. Eric, what are your thoughts on everything that has been, said so far? Do you agree with everything? Do you disagree? Or what are even your own thoughts with this question?
I agree. Human-centric development is really important. Here's why the people that actually make the technology don't do it very well. So let's take an example like Salesforce, which I'll assume that most of you know who they are. They're a very, very big software company. They make software for salespeople and customer service people mostly. And they do employ what they would call human-centric design when they make a new product. And a lot lately, they've been making a lot of artificial intelligence products. They've been doing this for several years, but they've really accelerated it in the last 2 years. When you take those artificial intelligence products and you give them, or you sell them to customers, a lot of the salespeople at those customers actually rebel and they say, I don't want to use this AI, or I feel like it's spying on me, or the notes it's writing don't really reflect what happened. So how did that happen? If there was human-centric design, then these experiences shouldn't be happening. Salespeople should be welcoming the AI, saying, oh, I love this, give me more. But instead, a lot of them are saying, I don't like it, stop forcing it on me. So what's really happening is that inside really large technology companies, the concepts of human-centric design are present. So you'd find lots of people who say, yes, we use human-centric design. But what's happening is they're not talking enough to the outside world as they design the product. So instead of talking to real salespeople at real customers, they talk to their own salespeople, for example, or they talk to the boss of the boss of the boss of those salespeople. And so the actual connection and understanding to real human experience is completely lost in layers of, misunderstanding and frankly, just corporate politics, saying the thing that you think the CEO wants to hear.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. I think it's kind of like the sort of, human in the loop, but it's like feedback in the loop, right? Where you can get from users directly using your product saying, hey, give us your honest thoughts. How can we improve this? How can we add more human values within this product so that we can make sure that AI is, has the human values at its core, so that we can, from your feedback, be able to make those corrections and be able to fix that. So 100% agree with you there, Eric. And I think Jordan wants to jump in too. Go ahead, Jordan.
Yeah, so definitely agree that human-centric design is very important. What I would add is that, we work a lot with startups and younger companies, as well as obviously their customers, which are large. But culture of the company is really critical, because it really underlines and underpins the entire, life journey and how everyone in the company interacts, behaves, and what they think about. So you really need to have a culture within the company that's very focused on a lot of the human-centric design concepts, the idea that the customer is important, and the use of the product should make the customer delighted and solve a real problem. A lot of technology is developed without a customer in mind. So if you look at the average way that most companies are built out, you have some technical founders or maybe some business founders, and they come up with an idea, and then they go and they start building, right? They don't go out and first meet with a whole bunch of customers. Those companies that are very good and do make a big impact on the market in many instances are those that start with the problem first. They start with the design concept of what problem am I solving? How should it make the life of the customer better? And then there's also a different layer outside of product in terms of the culture of the company, which is that it's really focused on all of the people in the company being, issues or key tenets. So you can have a pledge, or you can have an oath, or you can have a culture which is defined by things like integrity, excellence, ethics, compassion, empathy, these different types of values that will make the average person in the company more attuned to the needs not only of the other people in the company, but also of their customers, shareholders, etc.
Yeah.
So I think those are very important concepts from a culture standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, community, culture, they're all really important and fundamental to any company. And it to me is business 101, which is, find the problem, find the market to fit that, that problem, what the solution is, and then, what is the painkiller in which you're giving to that customer to solve that problem, right? Which is business 101. So, but anyway, let's get on to the next question, which is, what practices help align personal motivations with meaningful advancements? So, Stefania, I can see you nodding your head, so we're going to pass this one over to you, and then we'll go to Joy after that as well. Unmute your microphone, Stefania. It's the little microphone button down the bottom. You'll see unmute, and then if you just press the microphone, it should unmute. Right next to the camera. There we go. See, you're on mute now.
Yeah, okay. So I just wanted to add on the previous question that we were talking about human-centric design, and I would stress the factor that this needs to be kept during the whole customer experience until the end of the experience with a product or service. But anyway, we can talk more about that later. So regarding what you were asking about the practices that can help align the personal motivations and purpose with meaningful advancements, it always has to start with self-audit. Let's call it this way. Clarifying which are your personal motivations and purpose, and then getting the clarity from the organizational purposes as well. So in that way, you can get that alignment. If your purpose and the purpose of the organization that you are working with are completely different and there is no way to find an alignment, it's never going to work. Just to give an example. So the company Patagonia is always encouraging employees to be active with environment. So if this is something that there is no way aligned with what you want to do, you're going to find it like an obligation, right? To attend these type of activities, and you will always be on a different road and trying to escape from that. So number one, really clarifying which is your purpose, and then aligning it with the company, or clarifying the company and then finding the alignment. Then I find also that in the companies that they are too restrictive with employees, in the sense that you are only allowed to do what is your role and stay inside the company. You are not allowed to dedicate any of your working time to network somehow outside the box. They are limiting as well to explore different venues, because it's when you have those spaces of creativity that you can create that innovation as well, and probably find your purpose that you don't on your daily basis. And that links us with the personal branding. That is when you start putting up yourself out there and start with a narrative on your own personal brand, that you find those collaborations or spaces to grow more on your purpose. Because again, on the daily work, you are not going to find that. So it ends with that cross collaboration within industries, but also within the same organization between departments. That is where you find those spaces of novelty, innovation, creativity that goes beyond, again, the admin work that you do every day, but really connects with your purpose and the purposes of the organization. And of course, to wrap up that, we need to go and measure success really beyond profit. There need to be some other ways to measure what profit and success means inside the organizations, and can have that percentage of how are you contributing through your work with social impact or to sustainability. So that's the frame that I would say can help having more meaningful contributions on a personal way inside the organizations, to create further advancements, because at the end, when we work on a purpose aligned with the company, that multiplies by 1,000.
I will also add, I think potentially one practice could be leadership as well. I think if you have the right leader who can also motivate and can help encourage people and rally people behind them, again, that's another way in which, personal motivation can be helped, and also adding to meaningful advancement, including, what they, because also the other part as well is it depends where the person wants to go within the company too, right? It depends, like, what is their end goal? Like, do they want to be a chief marketing officer? Do they want to be a head of a certain department? Or do they just want to have more personal time with their family and be able to have the freedom to do what they want to do? So again, it kind of, how you're saying, it depends on A, the end goal, and also B, the right leader and being able to lead and be able to give space to that individual to allow them the freedom to do what they want to do and to motivate them in the direction they want to go. So I will add that to what you're saying, but everything you said, Stefania, was spot on. So thank you for that. And we'll hand it over to Joy now. So Joy, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, yes, Stefania, I think you covered a lot of it. A couple of things that I would say is you always want to ask why. Why are we doing this? What is the purpose of this? And so I think when employees and the community all understand and have had a voice into the development of some of these practices and some of the advancements that are going on, for instance, like if you're partnering with the community nonprofits or healthcare organizations. The other day in Portugal, we had an earthquake, and it was my first one. And
wow.
So as my desk is rattling, I
Jesus.
just remember thinking, okay, what technology do we already have in place that, because this is a personal thing that just happened. And so I wanted to make sure, like, what does Lisbon have right now for earthquakes? And what happens when those are, when everything is shaking, you really don't know what to do. So for me, that became a personal thing. Mm-hmm. And it's also looking at employees' contributions to societal impact. Like, where is this going? Are we mentoring organizations? Are we mentoring employees? Are we mentoring leaders? Like what you said about leadership. Not all leaders really understand exactly how they want to show what they're interested in and what the societal impacts are, or should they share that with their employees? And so I think if you provide lots of contribution or rewarding contributions from employees to allow them to say, hey, listen, this is a really important aspect of technology that I would like for us to include or to look at. For instance, I use Bionic Feedback or Bionic Reader on my browser. I don't know if any of you use that, but for someone with ADHD like myself, if I go into an article and I see all of the ads and everything else, it's completely overwhelming and I can't really read it very well. But I can go into Bionic Reader, put that on, and then it clears out all of that noise, that visual noise. The other thing is like looking at Google's Project Relate, where they start to use helping people with using non-standard speech so they can communicate more effectively. Or if they have something like VoiceOver, Apple uses something called VoiceOver, which helps people that are visually impaired, or Live Listen, which people that have hearing loss. All of those things are probably things that people have said, hey, listen, this is important to me. I want to be able to include this into our advancements. How do we do that? What's the best practice to do that? And a lot of that comes from recognizing and rewarding those contributions from the community, from nonprofits, from other organizations, from the employees, from the leaders. All of that has a lot to do with that, cultivating that culture of responsibility.
Yeah, I like how you put up a sort of key point there, which is communication. When you were saying about the communication aspect, I think that is really underrated in kind of what people, think. Like, I think people just don't understand exactly what communication. Like, what is a communications director? Like, what's the communications of what? What are you supposed to be communicating about? It's just to keep things flowing, internally and externally in terms of how you communicate from one to another. And I think that is really important and underrated, when it comes to, company. So, but yeah, no, thank you very much, Joy. And that, again, everything you said there was spot on, like Stefania. You guys are both really on point today. So, let's get on to the next question, though, which is, in your experience, how does empathy contribute to progress in technology? This is a very interesting question. So Jody, I'll bring you on this, and then Trina will hand it over to you after.
Thank you. I'd love to extend the question just a little bit. How does empathy contribute to progress in technology and just everything in life? So, one thing that when I was younger, I heard so often that empathy was my weakness, right? That I was too sensitive. I'm in the United States, so I'm in the Chicago area. So maybe some people didn't hear that as a younger person, but we valued strength and loudness and boldness and sometimes bulliness. But now we are finding over the last decade that this empathy is a strength, and that it is probably one of the strongest traits that we have been pushing aside for a long time, and now we're seeing the benefits of it. So one thing that I'd like to think is that diverse voices, diverse experiences are so needed, because the table should reflect the society, the culture, the business, whatever it should be that it represents. It's beneficial to all. And then, something I want to just add on to what Joy said, why are we doing this? I feel that it is, very important for all of us to understand that questioning the status quo is essential for driving meaningful change. So bringing in your empathy, asking those questions, and being very confident, which sometimes can be hard to maybe say, if it's a group bias or something, bringing up your voice, but understanding how important that is.
Very interesting points you brought up there, Jody. And that, yeah, I completely agree. Empathy is a strength, right? It's not a weakness. And also, when it comes to the AI side of things, right? I mean, people will argue, should AI have empathy? Should it not? Should AI have feelings? Should it not? I mean, again, eventually AI will have its own sort of emotions eventually. When? I don't know. But at some point, it will do. When it comes to that side of things, it will have its own, emotions and stuff like that, where you won't be able to tell the difference between if it's, AI or human. So Eric, let's bring you on this as well. What are your thoughts?
The key thought is the reason we have low empathy in business is because we keep characterizing business as if it's some kind of battle or war. So the things you do in business, very, very few of them are actually like a battle or war. We keep characterizing them as that. And then we have this misconception that battle and war require low empathy. But actually, they don't. So military planners and thinkers and strategists employ a lot of empathy, because you're trying to get inside the enemy's head, essentially. And you're also trying to anticipate, what will this do to my own troops? That's an empathetic process. When you're actually in the business of fighting, yeah, sure, you probably want to turn your empathy down when you're trying to defeat the actual enemy. But, there's this very common saying that business people love, which is every battle is fought and won before it actually is fought. And it's a Sun Tzu quote. And so what they're really admitting there is you've actually got to do a ton of planning to actually win the battle. The planning actually requires empathy. It's just not the sort of empathy that a lot of people think about, where you're like, oh, boo-hoo, I'm going to hurt someone, I don't want to do it. That's not what we're talking about here. It's just literally the ability to put yourself in someone else's shoes and anticipate how they might react to something. As far as AI having empathy, if that's going to happen, we're going to have to we're going to have to discover new mathematical frameworks, because the ones we have now don't lead to empathy. They lead to a simulation of empathy.
Okay. And Trina, what are your thoughts on all of this as well? Because I want to bring you on this, and I apologize for, send it over to Eric quickly, but please do share your thoughts on what's been expressed so far.
Yeah, actually, Eric, you said, it's basically what I would call it, fake empathy. Look, here's the reality. In our own human experience, I'm sure all of us have experienced those leaders that provided what we would consider to be fake empathy, where they appeared to be empathetic about a situation, but their heart was not in alignment with their words, right? And so, I would say, as whether it is AI, and Jody mentioned this as well, that regardless of whether it's AI, we are human beings, and we should have empathy because we would want people to be empathetic for us. We should give what we need. And the reality is, whether it is technology or business, which technology really is our business nowadays, we are still human beings, and we need to have compassion and care about each other. And so as I think about this question, I look at it as twofold. I look at it as the people that are creating the technology, and I think about the people that we are creating this technology for. The people that are creating the technology, they need to not only think about the customer, but also put themselves in the seat of the customer and say, how would I want to experience this? How do I meet that need? And also in the creation of the technology, how do I work with my fellow man or fellow woman, et cetera, in a way where we can not only create something great from a technology perspective, but create the right experience in working with one another, even if we disagree. We can still disagree and have empathy, even if we don't understand. As I think about the customer side of it, I'll be very honest and frank. I have a parent that has dementia. I have been a caregiver dealing with that dynamic for several years with him. So when I think about what would I need as a caregiver to have created a better experience for me to create a better experience for him, I have to be able to sit in that caregiver seat and understand the ups and the downs of the emotion, the grief process, all of the administrative things I have to go through. But I also have to think about him as being my father, who was very strong and strong-willed man who now has lost some of that, and make sure that whatever I create does not completely remove his decision-making process, but also include him as a part of the process. The core to me is we have to meet people where they are, even if we don't agree. We have to have compassion, and we have to go back to loving people and considering people. Technology is a tool. I don't care what people say. It will never replace any of us. I've been in technology for over 25 years. I think some of you on this call may have been in technology longer than I have. But the reality is there's certain things that only we can do. Technology is a tool. It cannot replace a human. It may replace an action, but it will never replace the way that Jordan does the same thing, and Eric does something completely different, and Jody does something. It will never be able to replace what I call that secret sauce. You can program it, but it'll never replace it.
No, I just wanted to jump in because how can people, like, I wanted to just quickly fire a follow-up question, which is, how can people use, AI as a tool for compassion, empathy? I'm kind of curious to hear that side of things, and what are your thoughts are on that?
Yeah, I think I would leverage it for research. I think, and again, I'm in the States, just like Jody. I'm in the United States of America, and I'm sure you all have seen what is going on in our country right now. I think we've lost the art of communicating this way, having conversations where we don't all have to agree. I think where we can leverage AI is being able to collate data and get different opinions about different things, even if we don't agree. And it takes the emotion out of it because it's purely data, and nobody's going to probably fight with AI. Or if they do, that's their own thing. It's different versus us having a disagreement one-on-one versus leveraging this tool to pull the data and to get different people's experiences. Look at this call. This is a global call. Joy's experience where she is right now is very different than my experience right now. I can leverage AI and say, hey, well, what's going on in Portugal right now? What's the climate like? How are people working together? How are they leveraging AI to work? What types of problems are they solving? And get that additional data, which then gives me a different perspective on the things that they care about, which may be different than the things that we're caring about right now in the States, or they could be similar.
So it's very interesting how you can use that data to, Jordan, I'm going to have to go to the next question because we've got so many questions, but I wish I could hand it over to you, Jordan, but I can't. But kind of going back to you yourself, Trina, like, it's very interesting how you can use AI as a tool to understand, to empathize, to understand what is going on in other parts of the world, so that you can put yourself in that position, in their place, and think about what it would be like if you was there in that experience. So I think that's a really good answer in how you can use AI as a tool to be able to do that. So the next question, which is, how do leaders encourage a culture where individual contributions are valued? Now, we're going to have to speed this up because we don't have much time, and we've got about another 5 questions to go through. So what I'm going to do is we'll have to do very sort of like 60-second sort of answers. Try and keep them as short and precise as possible, so that we can keep things moving. So I'll hand this question over to you, Jordan, since you wanted to jump in the last question. we'll fire this one at you, and then we'll go to Jody after. So over to you, Jordan.
Yeah, so this really dovetails very well with my first answer, which had to do with culture, right? So a lot of companies, when they create culture, it's kind of unconscious, right? It's not structured. And so if you build a culture that is going to sustain and actually suffuse a company and become the culture of the company, it has to be intentional. It has to be something that you define, that is repeated, that is reinforced. And so this is something that unfortunately doesn't happen in a lot of companies, right? You have a founder, they have a particular way of doing things. But over time, as the company gets larger, you have a lot of other people that come into the company. They're not necessarily hired for the same culture, and the culture starts to dilute. And if that initial culture was from someone who really understood the customer, they understood the problem, they understood, what the solution was supposed to do, that can dilute. And then people are really there just to collect a salary, or they're just there to socialize, or something like this. So it's very key that the culture be intentional, that people are hired to reinforce the culture, and that culture, if it is going to be, about empathy and compassion and about solving customer problems, that's really the criteria that goes down into the job description. It goes into, the hiring managers. It really needs to be something that is reinforced on a daily basis, and that intentionality is really key.
What do you think, Jody, quickly? What are your thoughts on what John just said?
Did you say me?
Yes, yeah. I just said, sorry. What are your thoughts on what Jordan just said there?
Oh, I agree with Jordan. I think he did a really good job. I don't have anything to add to that. So I know we have more questions to get to. So since I don't have to add, let's keep on.
Definitely. All right. Thank you for that, Jody. What methods help incorporate real-world feedback into design and development? Elisabetta will jump on you for this one, and then Stefania as well. That face said otherwise. do you want me to get? I can give you another question if you want, Elisabetta.
Russell, did you say me? Yeah.
Yes. I did.
You're always so very nice. Thank you. I just try to be very, very, very brief. Okay. Well, and very practical, to be honest. I think creating continuous feedback loops with real users and stakeholders is massively important. I'd say, like at international level, we work with, we adopt agile processes, which means that, we break down development process into like smaller manageable cycle iterations, and we evaluate its phases. What is actually helpful, we can see like even meetables with companies, big corporations that we work with and for, is that also like when you have a diffused and shared leadership inside the company, which is very rare, which means that also like, ideas can come from everyone. It's really, really help, to have, real world feedback that you can put into the design of your products and processes. And when you use actually agile approach in every project that you undertake, you start with research and you need to anticipate people needs and align then also with business goals. But as we talked about a lot regarding empathy, I think that as the essence of empathy, emotional intelligence into like the strategies of the companies is massively important also to incorporate real world feedback into design. But the real emotional intelligence. So when you are capable to acquire and share knowledge all through the companies, when you are capable to create an environment which is psychologically safe for people, but really not just because it's really fashionable to say that. And also when you're capable to have processes that are really lean, and not just full of procedures that really overwhelming people for nothing. As I said, authentic and diffuse shared leadership is massively important. And inside corporations do not have that because they don't need to control people. I come from a huge corporation, so I know that what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I mean, I can see my screen blowing up right now saying that we're running out of time. So I'm going to jump straight into the next question, which is how can businesses balance technical advancement with everyday needs? So Joy, we'll bring you into this. And then we'll try and get around as many people as possible. We've got about 3 questions left. So Joy, over to you.
Sure. Well, one of the things I think that's really important right now is mental health and looking at mental health apps. And a lot of mental health apps have come in. I know I have been introduced to women's apps like Flow, that's tracking your menstrual cycle. There's things like, Headspace, the bionic reading, what I was talking about before. There's lots of apps out there for just different needs. And those have all come from people that have said, this is what I need. This is what the community is looking for. That's been, talking to stakeholders, having diversity on your teams, people coming from communities that have been usually underrepresented. And so those folks are coming in and saying, these are the things that people are asking for. There's a gap here. And when we start to address those gaps and we start to look at, well, we've always had these mainstream types of technology, but then when we bring in new and different voices, those voices will say, hey, there's a whole huge gap over here that you haven't even thought about yet. So that's a really important way to bring more, all different types of advancements just for daily needs, all kinds of things.
Yeah, and when we're talking about, and also when we're talking about AI, right, in particular, when it comes to technical advancements with everyday needs, people use AI all the time to, solve any problems, ChatGPT, take a picture. There was one person with a use case, how they managed to fix a toilet by taking a picture and using ChatGPT to fix it, right? Which is very interesting. So, when it comes to everyday needs and using AI, AI is great because it can be used for every day as well as business, aspect. So I just kind of wanted to add to kind of like what you're saying, Joy, which is, there's many different needs. And the point is, what can, help and do those needs? You've got all the different apps, but you've also got AI, which can help with a lot of those needs too. So anyway, let's get into the next question because we've got 2 questions left and we've got about 5 minutes. So Trina, we'll hand this question on to you, which is what role does storytelling play in communicating the value of new ideas?
Alrighty. So Stefania, hopefully I'll make you proud with this answer here. Look, to me, I believe if anytime you want to express something and see the value, it has to be personal. It's got to matter to you, right? Why does it matter, right? I think we mentioned, right, the question of why. You have to speak to your audience and you have to communicate to them in a way where it matters to them so that not only are you just talking, but it drives them to act. So if we're going to transform and change XYZ process and we're going to now leverage AI, we need to help people understand why and why it matters to them and what's the value to them. If you don't do that, you're going to lose people.
That's a really
They're going to
good
resist you.
Yeah, no, completely agree with that. Stefania, quickly, 30 seconds. Just express your thoughts on this very quickly from your side.
Okay, quickly. Storytelling takes you where data and facts cannot, and can break through people who would not remember a speech in a way that you wouldn't do. And usually through storytelling, the people are like 20 times more likely to remember things. So it's really powerful to transmit really complex ideas, the use of storytelling, because it's going to be faster, is going to be more retained in the memory, and is going to connect emotionally. And in a moment that everything is connected through technology, the storytelling, we are going to see that is the fantastic vehicle really to transmit complex ideas and to really get, it's a bit like contradictory, right? Technology and storytelling, the technical and the emotional, but this is the way really to break through with new innovations and to make it relatable and memorable.
Okay,
Yep.
to add on to that really quickly, I love what both of you said. And to make sure that storytelling is diverse voices. So we hear storytelling from everybody, right? Not just one-sided. So we need to see that balance of storytelling.
And then my next question, which is, how do you measure success when evaluating the effect of new developments? So Eric will bring you into this one, and then we'll finish the last question on you, Jordan. So over to you, Eric.
Yeah, so before you start to build something, you do have to ask, why am I building this? And if it does everything that I want it to do, what would be happening in the world that's different now? And those measures will usually be, some of them won't be financial or economic. So some of them will be, well, I built a new browser, right? This is the CEO of Google did this. He was in charge of building a new browser called Chrome. He was up against the Microsoft browser that was built into their operating system. It was a very difficult thing to dislodge that. And he set himself a set of metrics that most of them were not financial. They were about, how many people downloaded it today. And you want to be really clear about a small set of metrics that define what success looks like for you. And then you just measure it. He wasn't successful for years, by the way. He was given this mission and it took him several years to get to the metrics that he set himself. So fundamentally, just ask what success looks like and how will it show up in metrics.
Yeah, like what are your KPIs? What are you aiming for? What are your goals? What is the overall mission that you want to accomplish?
Yeah, and don't restrict yourself to just the financial ones.
Gotcha.
In fact,
yeah.
The best ones are usually human behavioral.
And my last question, which is, in what ways can collaboration across industries expand creativity and results? So Jordan, we'll finish you on this one, and then we'll have to wrap things up.
Yeah, so creativity is something that can come when different groups with different points of view work together, right? So we've talked about, quite a few people have mentioned diversity. When you have people working across different industries, they bring different viewpoints. And so there's a lot of, cross-cultural or interdisciplinary. These different words have become very popular over the last 20 or 30 years because they lead to solutions that are more, they're more inclusive, they're more able to solve problems, and they come up with more creative and better solutions. So I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you so much, Jordan. And thank you to everyone on the panel for joining us. Make sure you follow them all on LinkedIn. Everyone is on LinkedIn here, I'm pretty sure. So if you want to connect with anyone, do search their name and connect with them on LinkedIn. And that is everything from myself and from this panel. And I will see you guys very soon. I'll be back tomorrow. But in the meantime, enjoy the next panel and enjoy the rest of GatherVerse Summit 2025. See you later.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.